Ciao, hi, hey guys, checking I'm live on Facebook as well. I was just about to say, come on, Facebook. Um, Ciao, hi, hey guys, it's your boy M.K.S here. I'm back here with another series of videos, and in today's series, I hope to focus on as it's exactly 7 months till my birthday, if I make it that far. Unfortunately, I'm going to be 44 if I make it that far. But anyway, um, I thought I'd talk about because it's the 29th, which is the same day as my birthday, although mine is on the 29th of August. I don't tend to celebrate birthdays, but I thought I'd talk about like a wish list or a birthday wish list kind of. I know they say you're not supposed to tell people your birthday wishes, I guess, but I'd love to know what you think about that. Do you make birthday wishes and do you share them with others? But yeah, I was going to say, taking things literally, I should say, please come on Facebook. Yeah, anyway, as per usual, these are pointers number 1 to 10, and I'm focusing on the YouTube screen today. So if anyone message me or comments, if anyone comments on the Facebook version, I won't be able to see the comments till after the video. But yeah, I thought also because it's the first month, that's one thing I was going to say. I always forgot because it's the first month of the year. I thought, as the saying goes, look after number one. I thought I'd talk about more of my selfish dreams. Um, but some of them might not be that selfish. But I'd say I think there's only three selfish things about me, or three vices that I have. One, my love for Italian football from a selfish point of view, just because I think I look Italian. It's a bit of an immature reason, perhaps, but I supported them since I was young, so fairly young. So it's like for nostalgic purposes. Um, the second thing I guess I'm greedy of is guilty of, sorry, is greed, gluttony or whatever, trying to eat too much. I suppose you could say being lazy or that kind of thing. Another one, and I don't know if I should say this, but LUST. I'll just spit it out. But I do try and keep it family friendly. But anyway, um, so yeah, those are my vices, perhaps I think, and hoarding, I guess, and things like that. Yeah, it's getting worse. But anyway, another thing I was just going to say before I move on to the list is that I noticed like YouTube seems to be having some technical issues with like and maybe Facebook does as well, but with like when I make the video, it says unable to upload your video, and then about 10 seconds later it does anyway. It's probably just a minor little thing. I guess it tends to upload normally, thankfully, afterwards. But another thing is like it won't allow me to do a thumbnail for some reason. So I'm not sure if that's just an issue I'm facing because I like you do too many thumbnails or it's just a technical issue. But maybe other people on YouTube can let me know. But as ever, on that note, I welcome your comments, suggestions, or anything like that, and that kind of thing. So anyway, here goes. So number one, I'd love to uh, sticking to the theme of like being selfish and supporting Italian football. I'd love to see Italian football have as much investment and funding as possible. I know I've been talking about that this month, and I've talked about it in the past. Recently, I've been racking my brains trying to focus on like trying to avoid writer's block and trying to find a way to express my dreams for like Italian teams. I know I mentioned I'd love for them to be co-owned by companies and investors that are with the same letters. And I'd love for Apple to invest in AC Milan and also Alibaba to invest in AC Milan and Amazon as well. And I thought about deals, like what they would get, what the club would get out of it. Obviously, would be more funding, which they could spend on things like buying better players and the academy system and things like that. So, for instance, if Apple, Amazon, and Alibaba invest in them, I'd love for them to. If I'm really dreaming, I'd love for them to give like 10% of their and revenue towards AC Milan. Um, but I suppose 1% would be pretty cool. I don't know how much they make per year, I guess, but it'd be a lot of money anyway. It'd certainly be enough to help AC Milan to buy great players and to invest in their academies. And I'd love for AC Milan to spend um, like 10% of that, or 10% of all the money that they have really on buying better players, and 10% on the academy development, and 10% on like the foundation, and also 10% on um, I suppose I said that in a bit of the wrong order, but it doesn't work. It's being pedantic of me, but due to my patterns, but yeah, foundation, I think I've like for the fourth one. But yeah, I've done a list with a list, I know, but yeah, also, but yeah, on marketing and branding, like having sports clubs around the world and that kind of thing. And I was going to talk about AC Milan on Monday, but I didn't quite get around to it. I as I was a bit indecisive. And then I was going to talk about Inter Man yesterday as a fan of Italian football more generally. And I love for, like, as it's a Thursday today, I think like Torino, I'd love for them to get loads of investment as well. But anyway, I'll probably talk about that another time. And moving on to, and also I'd love to, from a less selfish point of view, I know I'm thinking more of selfish goals and dreams, but I'd love to start up projects like M.K.S enterprises, which would help people in developing nations. So I wasn't sure where to say that. I'd love to get things started. Think about the number one as well, like as it's the first month of the year and planning ahead. But moving on, number two, I'd love to learn how to attract investment, again from a selfish point of view, into Italian football and Sugar Celtic. But from a selfish point of view, into Italian football teams like Milan, Torino, and others. Again, investors that be in the same letter or letters, investing in and sponsoring Italian teams as much as possible. So like Tata, Toyota, Tesla, and others. Twitter, for instance. Well, I suppose it's not called Twitter anymore, but maybe even YouTube investing into Torino. Number three, I'd love to be able to say what's on my mind, and like I can be quite spineless, and I think the term people use sometimes is passive aggressive, whatever that means. I didn't really know what that meant, but maybe I can be a bit immature and what you might call passive aggressive, like throwing a straw or whatever. But yeah, maybe I can be quite immature for my age. But I love to be able to say what's on my mind and promote freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and encourage platforms to allow more freedom of speech and expression. There's one thing I was going to say, funny enough, rather ironically, that I might not say just now, but about social media. But I'd love to be able, as I say, to for people to be able to say what's on their mind and be more free. I was even thinking, like, for instance, I know I normally like support black empowerment and POC and support disadvantaged people and that kind of thing. But let's say someone does say they hate, if they say they hate black people, it's not something I'd agree with, but I think people should be free to love or hate who they like. I guess as long as they don't put it into it, as long as they don't act on it as in like physically hurt people or whatever. Like, I don't think we should be able to force people to like or not like or love or hate whoever, because I think that should be their choice, if that makes sense. But I love to express freedom, free speech and freedom of expression, like for myself, and I hope to afford other people the same rights, the same privilege, if you like. Don't know if it should even be a privilege, but a right to express free speech. And like I was thinking, from my own point of view, I'd love to be free to say what I want, do more of what I want, and be more free generally. But I guess it would only be fair to afford other people the same rights or privilege, if you call it that. But I was thinking, like, a controversial view. I've got controversial views about taxes. I'd love to see the lowest amount of taxes possible, and privatization, the deregulation of industries, lower taxes, more freedoms, more free choice for people to have generally, and that kind of thing. Again, I've got a bit of a dilemma because I'm thinking about like more selfish dreams, but I'm actually discussing things that I think are not that selfish. But and I think maybe charities could help the disadvantaged more. So people, I mean, a lot of people like socialists or communists would disagree with me if like people say about food banks. They say there shouldn't be food banks, but I think maybe food banks could take over, like, so there could be less need for state benefits and that kind of thing. So taxpayer wouldn't be forced to pay for those things. Controversial view, I should be careful. I was thinking if I share my political views, I risk offending people. As some say, I deleted all of my friend lists by sharing my political views or whatever. But I think like child benefits, I don't think the government should pay towards those things, because I think the saying is, if you can't afford them, you shouldn't have them. Same with pets. Much as I love children and animals and all that kind of thing, I don't think people should be able to have them if they can't afford them. So I think it's irresponsible for the government to give child benefits, because it says to people you can have children and get other people to pay for them. And it gives a bad precedent, I guess, but that's my opinion anyway, controversial I know. But I would probably say there could be tax cuts for people who have children, like tax benefits for doing so, but or even for having pets. But I don't think there should be the government forcing people to pay other people to have children. But again, some of my controversial views. I'd love to discuss my political views and things like that as well. But moving on that note, number 4, I was thinking about my views about the right to resist, but as I'm trying to think of more selfish things for January and less selfish things in other months, I would say most of my goals and dreams, I would say, are maybe not completely selfless. I guess I would get a benefit from such, and they wouldn't be what's the word, purely altruistic or whatever. But basically, they wouldn't be completely selfless. But um, I guess most of them are about helping other people. But now I'm trying to think more of the selfish ones for January, as it's the first month, as I say. And I guess some people say on your birthday, most people are quite selfish on their birthdays. According to religion, like according to Christianity, I'm not sure about Islam or other religions, but I think they say they don't celebrate birthdays. I think why is everything fun have to be banned? But nowadays I don't find birthdays fun. I just find like I'm getting older. But if I could use them to drum up support for my goals, like special occasions, I would love to do that. But yeah, I'd love to encourage, as I say, investment into Townfall and Shrewsbury Celtic as well. The latter, I wouldn't say it's that selfish, but the Townfall, I see it for more selfish reasons, just because I think I look Italian and I support them for nostalgic purposes. Like when I was young, I support them. So I love to see Italian teams go back to their greatest days, just like my teenage dreams when I was a teenager. I used to dream about that sort of stuff. So I sort of kept with those dreams. But yeah, I guess I'd love to see the investment that goes into wars and the weapons trade being invested into Townfall. And I'm going to say Celtic as well. And I'm trying to think of more selfish dreams. I see supporting Celtic as not that selfish because I see it supporting the underdog, and they went through a lot of oppression. Although they're top team in terms of overall trophies won, um, they are the underdog in many ways. Like they went through colonialism and oppression from Ireland and all that kind of immigrated to Scotland. So they're a Scottish team with Irish roots. But anyway, I'm going to move on to number 5. As I say, I'd love to see how I could find a way to communicate with potential investors and sponsors to invest into and or sponsor Italian teams as much as possible. And number 6, another thing is I'd love to see Italy win the World Cup somehow. I'd love to see them have a miracle and win the World Cup 20 years after the last time. So to win in America or Mexico or Canada, or I think the final will be in America, I think, supposedly, unless things change. But I would love to see, say, Italy go through the qualifiers, third time lucky, I guess, and to finally win a World Cup. And yeah, take a miracle, but I'd love to see that. So I'd love to be celebrating my birthday with Italy being world champions and Italian club teams, like say like AC Milan, Inter Milan, Roma, and teams like that, winning Champions Leagues and World Club Cups, bringing in the best possible players, coaches, managers, coaching staff, directors of football, dietitians, and whatnot to Italian football. Number 7, and yeah, a bit of a dilemma, as I say. I'm stuck at 6 and 7s, as I say, here in Britain. I guess I am being quite mad. I have the dilemma with my paperwork. Like, I don't want to get in other people's way, but I love to have paperwork, like literally everywhere or whatever, where, when, and wherever I have permission. But yeah, I'm thinking of the selfish dreams, but from a less selfish point of view. I know I did say like my selfish dreams in a rather immature way, but I'd love to see Celtic get as much investment as possible. And my thoughts on Celtic are like that. I'd love for them not to focus on European games this year, because like I think we've got to get back to trying to win the league, hopefully, and hopefully win a double by some miracle, which is very difficult. At one point, I wanted to win us to win a treble, but it's looking like we'd be lucky to win one trophy. It could be a trophy this season, but I think focusing on Europe could be too much of a distraction. So I'd love for it I'd love to see us like focusing only on the domestic games and resting players and playing fringe players for the European games. I'm sure all Celtic fans will agree with me, of course, but I'm sure there'll be many who don't, in other words. But yeah, I'd love to see us rest players, and also I would love to see, yeah, for the domestic games, and also I'd love to see more signings, like 6 or 7 signings. So I know that's not a selfish one, but I thought I'd mention it anyway for my more general dreams. But yeah, maybe it would be a bit selfish to expect companies to just invest in a town football, Antrim or Celtic, and my goals and dreams generally, just because it's my birthday. But I might dream, I guess. Number 8. Everyone to love me. being. I hope it's not too narcissistic, but I'd say most of my dreams are like more selfless, I think, but now I'm trying to focus more on selfish dreams, like getting investment into a town football and that kind of thing. I'd say mainly, and yeah, I guess haters are going to hate. But anyway, moving on, number 9. I could have said, I suppose I forgot to say like my own creative rooms, but I guess I was thinking if I did, it's a bit of a challenge to talk about 40 different ideas. I know I like to do that for each video, like just in case I miss any or whatever, but sometimes it is hard to think of like 40 ideas, quite a few times in fact. So as I say, in my opinion, my more selfish dreams are, or my more selfish things that I do, like if I'm guilty of like LUST, also spit out, and also gluttony, greed, and that kind of thing, and wanting Italian teams to win from a selfish point of view. Other than that, I don't think of many selfish things, but some people might see it differently. I know I'm quite focused on my goals. I was going to say, like, people might say, be selfish with your time, so then you can be less selfish in the long term. I suppose some people say, which reminds me of something I forgot to say, but some people might say, if you work hard when you're younger, you don't have to work as hard when you're older, perhaps. Although I was going to say point number 7, thinking about the biblical number 7, even though I'm not that religious, but like rest. I wish to God I never had to work hard. I think there's probably no one in the world who's never had to work hard at some point in my life, I guess, but I'd love to work smart instead of hard. Sometimes I jokingly say I was going to say point number 7, but I forgot to say sometimes I jokingly say I would love for robots to take over, like, so we wouldn't have to do any work. But and I've jokingly said in this event that in this group I go to, I said that I would do nothing, and they said like nothing at all, and I was like, yeah, I do nothing, but really I would just write and make videos and walk and things like that, and 1 or 2 other activities. But I wouldn't say I literally do nothing. If I slept all day, I'm sure I'd be very bored. And there's part of me which would like to never sleep, but always like write as much as possible, and make videos and things like that. So it's a bit of a contradiction again, a bit of a dilemma. But I'd love to have my own creative rooms where I could write. And number 10, also make videos. And I guess from a less selfish point of view, again, I know many things of selfish stuff, is I would love to support young people. But again, going back to being selfish, I would love to see youth development in Italian football. And there's a few things I would love to have done when I was younger as well. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm out. Peace up. Just going to go for a walk.